Hi, so I will be sharing with you my visual arts summary of chapter 1 of the arts integration lesson or book. And this particular artwork that I've created combines a few of the notable, not all, but a few of the notable art learning theorists and ones that stick out to me specifically because I didn't know as much about them or because I felt like they were more main contributors to learning theories that are in education. So this is not a full preview, but it is quite a few of them. So I'm going to walk you through the different pieces of this artwork. So the very first section that I'll focus on is Piaget. Now, what I chose from him, like if you look in this right-hand yellow corner, so there's all these different paint splatters, you'll see that it starts out with one bright, big yellow one, and it turns into smaller orange, and then red-orange splatters. So this represents that it starts out with stimulus. So this is a reference to the way that stimulation works in a child's brain. So it starts out with kind of a big stimulation, and then all the different splatters, the orangier splatters represent new stimulation being added to the big schema and how a student needs to rearrange or change that schema or add a new schema in order to adapt new learning to that student's mind. Okay, so that's Piaget, that's the orange and yellow splatters. Over here in the middle, we have this long purple trailing ladder. And this is very abstracted as a ladder, but this represents Vygotsky's scaffolding and how that is a huge aspect of learning theories and how in general education we typically use scaffolding in order to teach students to their levels. The next section that we have is over here in the left-hand corner, and it starts, so there's two layers on this left-hand corner. We're going to focus on like the bottom layer where you see this very dark purple kind of odd looking figure. This figure is representing Brunner's learning theory, where he talks about 3 different stages. So those stages are the iconic, or rather the inactive, the iconic, and the symbolic stages. Okay, so the dark blackish purple figure, that's to represent a person in physical action. So that it looks like it has like 2 legs that are kind of like moving in action. So that represents the inactive phase. And then you see on the back of this figure, we have these like leaves that represents the iconic phase. So notice that they do look like leaves, and that kind of has like that look of an image. So it looks like an image that represents the iconic phase, and then trailing away from that are these weird kind of spider webby light purple things kind of going up into the middle of the painting. That represents the symbolic phase. So these aren't literal images, or kind of an odd looking kind of abstract looking image. Okay, so on top of the layer of Brunner's figure, we have another kind of like this light purple cloud-like shape. And on top of that is a little brain. And underneath the brain, it's a little bit hard to see, but it has this image of 2 little kind of cups holding 2 different golden symbols. So this brain on top of it very lightly is an image of a weight, or kind of an abstracted version of a weight, just shapes really. And underneath that is this weight where there's these 2 cups that are balanced equally. Now this represents the successful intelligence model. Okay, so this one is a little bit, in the chapter itself, it was a little bit more flowy. It didn't have a specific of a structure, mostly because they are newer theories. So there's a lot more that we're adding to it. But one of the things that stuck out to me is that it was about kind of metacognition and thinking about thinking. And that's why we have like kind of this cloud-like shape kind of representing the idea of a thought bubble. And on top of that, we talk about like the strength that's needed for the mind in order to develop and grow. And the balance of these two cups, so to speak. One is holding kind of like this like free-flowing golden texture, and that kind of represents creativity, and the opposite side represents a little bit more of the analytical ways of thinking. So it's a little bit more hard pressed. Okay. And then the last one that we have is over here in the top right middle, this triangle. And this triangle has 3 different tips, and each tip represents a different aspect of the triadic model of intelligence. Notice that's triadic, which is why it's a triangle. In the right-hand corner of the triangle, we have the analytical thinking triangle. So notice that there's small little parts, and they're all individually divided into little rectangles and triangles. That represents how the brain can think in like little small sections and components and can section things out. That's analytical. And then over here in the bottom corner of the triangle, it's a lot more kind of free flowing. It's kind of like, looks a little bit like paint splatters, and it kind of just has like this little kind of weird wavy inorganic shapes or organic shapes that are just a little bit off, and they don't have a specific structure. That represents creativity. So the creativity side of our thinking. And the very last one is more specific shapes, and they are a little bit like kind of fit together like puzzle pieces. And that represents practical intelligence. So the kind of intelligence that we use in order to solve everyday problems and figure things out in our everyday lives. So that is the triadic model of intelligence. And that is from Steinberg. Okay, so we have quite a variety. We have Steinberg, Vygotsky, Piaget, Brunner, and that is a summary of chapter 1 and some of the learning theories that I thought were most relevant and important to bring up.